guide, a real black man, was 66. So these guys were not kids. They're both extremely accomplished men, one white, pretending to be black, one black, at the top of their careers. And the men were warned not to stop and speak to sharecroppers working or walking along the roads. They were told never to argue with the riders who made up the armed mounted patrols that plantation owners used as field foremen and general overseers. They were also told not to talk too much in front of the white folks who held all the power and owned everything of value in the Delta. Above all, they were warned not to appear too interested in the dismal living conditions and suppressed civil rights of the huge black workforce that served King Cotton. The men appeared to be just a couple of accidental travelers, two innocent old gents from the big city of Atlanta. They were nothing of the sort. The 61-year-old in the passenger seat, wearing the floppy checkered hat and heavy black framed glasses, was an imposter. He called himself James Ray L. Crawford and carried a fake Social Security card in his wallet to prove it. But in actuality, he was Ray Spriggle, a nationally famous newspaperman from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. He wasn't a light-skinned black visiting from the north. He wasn't even a black. He was 100% German-American white with a deep Florida tan, a spotless Republican voting record, and a 1938 Pulitzer Prize, proving a U.S. Supreme Court justice was a member of the KKK. The only genuine black man in the speeding Mercury was the lead-footed 66-year-old driver, John Wesley Dobbs, arguably the most influential black political and civic figure in Atlanta. He was a celebrated public speaker who had 2 cars and owned a handsome house in the wealthiest black neighborhood in America. Confident and driven, a flask of whiskey in his inside coat pocket, Dobbs could quote long poems and passages from Shakespeare from memory and often preached his favorite civil rights gospel, that the only way for blacks to achieve full freedom and equality was through the 3 B's, bucks, ballots, and books. It was May 27, 1948. Ray Spriggle had come down into the deep South to see and feel for himself how 10 million black Americans lived under the system of legal segregation known as Jim Crow. For nearly 3 weeks he had been eating, sleeping, and living as a black man. Dobbs was his guide to the black world. Because he was the longtime Grand Master of Georgia's Prince Hall Masons fraternal group, he was known and trusted by middle-class blacks across the South. In Atlanta and in the small towns of rural Georgia, Alabama, and Tennessee, Dobbs was introducing the undercover journalists to black doctors and undertakers, to sharecroppers, and to the families of lynching victims. When he told them Spriggle was gathering information for the NAACP, they believed him. Dobbs was also Spriggle's driver and protector, who knew how to comfortably and safely travel the South's dirt and clay back roads, where for black motorists, the bathrooms were usually in the bushes, and an uppity black man in a nice car could quickly find himself in serious trouble with white folks or the county sheriff. Spriggle was a seasoned newsman. He had spent time in the Deep South before. He had covered the Blitz in London in 1940 during World War II, gone undercover into state mental hospitals, and witnessed a dozen death penalty electrocutions. He was not a civil rights crusader or a soft-hearted liberal, but what he was seeing made him ashamed to be an American. Now he and Dobbs were passing through the deepest, meanest, poorest part of the Jim Crow South, where decades of strict racial segregation and white supremacy had achieved a feudal level of oppression nearly 100 years after the end of slavery. If the wrong people in the Delta found out they were on a secret mission for a Yankee newspaper and were in cahoots with the boss of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, it could cost them their lives.